You are listening to I Am Refocused podcast with your host, Shemaya Reed. This podcast is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. Now, let's tune into today's podcast.
Hey, this is I Am Refocused podcast, and you know what time it is, man. It is Thursday, so we are here at Rockefeller's Barbershop. Shout out to the owner, Rica Rodriguez. Man, we have a show for you today. Our special guest is Miss Pamela Allen. She is the founder and advocate for Eagles Fly Advocacy and Outreach. I just wanted to say real quick, how are you doing, ma'am, today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me today.
So before we get too deep in what you're doing currently, give us a little backdrop story of yourself.
Well, I am a mother and a grandmother, and I have a son with autism, and that's kind of what brought me down the road. My profession was going into broadcasting, and so, you know, God chose a different path for me, and I have been doing this for about 25 years, the advocacy part, but there's just been a lot that I choose to do in this community that means so much to me. I love San Antonio.
And you served over 15 years helping people with special needs.
Yes.
So tell us a little about that. How did you get involved, and what's some of the things you have to do on a daily basis?
Sure. Well, we were stationed in Europe a very long time ago, and it was during that time that I first came into contact with special needs children and young people when in Czechoslovakia, when it was Czechoslovakia at the time, they had children in that mental hospital, and it was really horrible, and I had never seen anything like that. Serving in the military, and we came into so many different arenas, and I was called into service at that time. As I said, I went into broadcasting. That was my profession, but I chose this path because it really just I believed that this was what I was supposed to do. Then coming back to the States, we had a child with autism, diagnosed with autism. I had no idea what that was. The only thing I knew about autism was Rain Man, and that was my first prayer. Please, God, don't let my child be Rain Man. And the ratio back then was 1 in 1,000. Today, it's 1 in 46. And so we see a lot of need for people with special needs, and especially with autism. And that's what brought me down this path.
And when you had your child with special needs, what was your approach to adapt to that situation? What were some of the things you had to learn, and what were some of the things that you had to take action on?
Well, as soon as we were diagnosed, we got stationed to Georgia. And I am convinced that Georgia probably is not part of the United States. It's a very different place. We were taken away from our church, our family, and any type of support system. And so when we got to Georgia, we had nothing but my faith. And that's exactly what I believe brought me to this point. And so I had to learn a lot about autism, the characteristics of autism. I went and started learning about applied behavioral analysis. My son didn't talk. My son rocked back and forth, and he would flap his hands. The doctor said something to me that really, really just pierced my heart and said, this is all you're ever going to get. Get used to it, and you may have to look into a mental hospital. And all I could think about was, oh my gosh, I've seen, but I saw what was in Europe, and I couldn't make that choice, and I wouldn't make that choice. And so I took my son home and barricaded ourselves inside the house and learned everything that I could. It was a year after that my son did start speaking. But we went through a lot of hardships. He used to run away from the house, didn't like wearing clothes. So when he ran away, he would run away naked, which was not a good thing. So it was extremely difficult, and it was so harsh, but I believe that was my training ground. I believe that everything that I learned, that was supposed to be used to help others, and so that's exactly what I do.
And when it comes to you being there for your son, how has the community get involved with just you raising your kid?
Well, I'm going to tell you, because there wasn't so much known about autism back then, I made a lot of people in the community, our school, I made them understand and listen. It wasn't just a road I was traveling. I knew that a lot of other families are going to travel this road. And so it was important for me to make sure that others understood. You know, when he would scream or when he was having meltdowns, when he was running away from me, there were so many times I would get stopped by security. Is this your son? And the whole time he would not vouch for me. He would just say, no. So, you know, practically got thrown under the bus by my own son, but especially when we left SeaWorld, that was another story. But it was important for me for others to understand. And when we came into the school district, it was important for me for the school to understand that regardless of the picture you see today, that's not the picture you're going to see tomorrow or the next week or the next year. So we're going to educate this child, and we're going to make sure that this child is given everything allowed by the law. And when they understood I was not backing down, they fell in line. And it wasn't just for my son, it was for the others like him that were going to be having the same struggle. So it was making sure that an awareness was created in the community, in the school, in every aspect of his life. We created that awareness.
And speaking of awareness, was there a certain time during the journey where you were finding more resources to help deal with this, or were you just trying to make it yourself and transition to being part of your organization?
Well, you know, that he was the inspiration for the organization. Mm-hmm. There were not a lot of resources out there. There just weren't. One lady who I noticed had a special needs child, she saw me chasing after my son, Mark, and she grabbed me by the arm and just said, "You're not alone. You're not alone." And I loved that she did that. I never found out her name. I never knew who she was, but I can tell you that the impact that she had on me was just so deep because she let me know I wasn't alone. And I felt so comforted by what she said that I wanted to be able to say that to another mom. I wanted to be able to say that to another family. I wanted to be able to hold a child and say, "You're not alone." So it was amazing. That, I still remember that. That was just like 10 seconds of her time, but that 10 seconds was life impacting. It was amazing.
And that was before you even launched your organization?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It was when I was in the battlefield. That was my training ground. You know, I joke a lot about Georgia, but their accent, they not only speak with an accent, they hear with an accent. I'm sorry if you're from Georgia, I apologize. But when I would say he has autism, he's autistic. Oh, he's artistic? Well, dang, let's just give him a crayon. Let's see how this goes. And I was like, oh my gosh, this can't be it. This can't be it. So it was really difficult in Georgia. But I could not find resources because, first of all, they thought he was artistic. And, and it was really hard to get people to understand. Once again, the ratio was 1 in 1,000 when he was diagnosed. Yeah. And so we didn't have a lot of resources. And that's why I decided I'm going to create resources and I'm going to find answers. And we're going to make sure that any families going through this, they're not going to go through it alone. You know, mothers who raise a special needs child, I'm going to tell you, they look at that mom who goes through all of that battle, and I've heard researchers say they have the same characteristics as someone who goes through PTSD, and I understand that. I've held the hands of many moms who've even tried to commit suicide because they feel like there's no way out. 10 years, 10 summers in a row, a mom trying to take her life, and I've been able to intervene, or I've been able to hold the hand, and it's really frustrating to see that moms feel like they don't have any other choice. Now we've become more aware. Now, with the ratio being what it is now there are a lot of resources. There are a lot of support groups. There are a lot of agencies, and there's still research out there. But it's a difficult road.
And when you started your organization, Eagles Flight Advocacy and Outreach, What was the beginning stages like? Were there massive people flocking to your organization, or was it a struggle trying to get the awareness going still?
There were masses, because just like me, moms were just so overwhelmed, and I remember talking to them and just telling them that same thing that one woman told me: "You're not alone." And the tears would come, and you could see the frustration. I started a ministry in our church, Summit Christian Center, when I came back, because I looked to my church for help and for support. And you know what? Unfortunately, my church, that gave me all the support, they weren't there because we were stationed in Georgia. And in Georgia, unfortunately, I got kicked out of 3 different churches. I wear that as a badge of honor, let me tell you, because I defended my son. Because they would say, well, he's probably possessed by a demon, or this has to do with your sin. I mean, it was really, really very hurtful things that they said. And so I didn't agree. And I remember the first lady who tried to put her hand on my son to pray that demon off of him. I grabbed her hand and I said, listen, the next person that you're going to speak to is Jesus. If you don't leave my child alone. And I was just very adamant. This is a gift from God. And we're not backing down. And I think it's this tenacity that's been given to me, that we're not going to back down, and we are going to get help. And this child is a gift. And so in saying that to another mom, when her child's melting down, when her child is screaming, you're not alone. This child is a gift from God. You see that peace that overcomes that mother, but she's got to get those tears out. And so we've been able to just really minister to a lot of families, able to hold their hand as they walk down this road. But we've had to seek out, we've had to do a lot of research, just looking for that help for those families. And we've been able to find it.
And with special needs children out there, it is sad that society, the world, looks at them in a negative bent.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What words of wisdom, say there's a parent out there right now, a single mom or just parent, mom and dad, they know they have a child with special needs and they're struggling trying to connect to the child, or just struggling trying to just keep it moving as a family unit. What words of wisdom will you give them to just kind of bullet points of how they can make things better in their home and when they're out in the public?
Well, now there are a lot of resources. There are parents who are walking this journey, and you are not alone. And this child that you see that is melting down, this child that you see that you feel like you can't reach, it's just a snapshot of the wonderful, amazing life that they're going to live. My son didn't speak, and he was nonverbal. He flapped his hands. He ran. He couldn't wear clothes. This son's now 22 years old and works at the San Antonio Zoo. He tells others about animals and educates everybody. Man, it was a long road, and it's been an amazing journey, but I can tell you each and every step of the way, I knew that God had a plan. So I'm going to tell you, God has a plan, and it may not look that way today, and it may not feel that way today, and it may seem like everything is falling down around you, but that's when God picks up the pieces, and that's when God shows you, you've been given this amazing honor to raise this child, and you are not alone. Others are around you that are going to support you, that are going to just walk this journey with you. And it's amazing to see all those people out in the community that now understand, even our law enforcement, even our own DA who is affected by autism as well. We walk this journey, but we walk it knowing that God put something precious in our hands, and don't take that for granted.
And share too with the audience, what were some things that you were doing to make a connection with your child? I was learning every possible strategy for my son to speak. I took ABA, Applied Behavioral Analysis. Back then it was a cutting edge theory, and now ABA is used throughout and even in the school districts. But it was just that wanting to reach out, wanting my son to speak, wanting to communicate with him. We learned sign language, and
it hurt my heart to have to learn sign language, but I wanted my son to know that I'm going to try and reach you, and there's nowhere that you're going to go that I'm not going to be there to stand next to you and reach you. And so it's those things that we need to make sure that parents understand that there is someone there. You know, the divorce rate of families raising a child with autism is over 85%. And that's a very sad thing. It really can tear at your heart. But you've got to just make this stance that we're not going to let anything tear our family apart. We're going to walk this road together, and we're going to make the changes that we need to make for our child.
In the second half, we're going to dive more into your organization. But before we wrap this segment up, I also want to touch on what was the journey getting back into the public eye, going to church. What was that like? What were some of the changes you were doing to make sure that your son was in not just a safe environment, but an environment where people can treat him like a human being?
Well, you know, when we came back from Georgia, I went straight to my pastors and I said, this is what happened to me. This is what I don't want to ever happen to anyone else. If you trust me, would you let me do that? They saw in my face, in my spirit, I'm not letting go. And they said yes. They didn't understand it. They had no idea what I was going through because I was away from them for so long, but they said yes. And that ability to be able to move that quickly into a ministry that no one had done before, that was extremely okay. We're going to have to get specialized caregivers, which were my sons, because they had a brother with autism, and we just had the absolute trust of our pastors in our church. The moment we started a special needs program in our church, parents just started coming in. I need help. I don't know what to do. And we started bringing resources to the church. We brought therapies. We brought funding. We brought everything we could into the church so that the people there would get the help that they needed. We even had SeaWorld on board with us. We did aquatic animal therapy. I didn't even think there was such a thing. I thought I made it up. But you know what? The kids got to go to SeaWorld and spend time with the dolphins and spend the night there. And just that interaction that they had with the sea life, you could see some of them trying to verbally respond. And so we knew we were onto something. And with the horses, which we have a ranch now that gives therapy to special needs children, we knew that there was something there too. So we sought out whatever we could to get the help for these families and making sure that whatever's broken, we're going to help repair.
And before we end this segment, do you have a story that pops in your head, a parent, a mom that you helped out, and she just gave you this amazing feedback about her child?
I actually have a mom that just texted me on the way over here. I've known her children ever since they were little. This mom made a choice to adopt 3 special needs children. And she's had a very long journey because I've known these children ever since they were little, and now they were in high school. But this woman was so overwhelmed. And when I first met her, she was the shyest woman. And we were teaching her strategies. Now she's just this amazing advocate in her school district. And she was just telling me, you know, they've violated so much of the special education law, and everybody's calling me now because I let them know that they violated the law and they're out of compliance. I'm just going to let the phone ring for a while and sit here and relax, and I'll get to them when I'm able to calm down and speak effectively, because that's one thing we want parents to do. I know it's overwhelming, and I know we get emotional. I still get emotional about my child at times. Well, he's a young man. He's 22. But we've learned that. We've learned that communicating effectively is going to be the way that you can help people understand your child. And so this is something that this mother does. She communicates effectively. And so I look at her, and she's one of my crowning jewels because she is an amazing advocate for 3 special needs children, and I adore her.
Well, we are about to take a break real quick. In the second half, we're going to dive into your organization and how it officially started, and we're just going to go from there. It's been a ride, and like like we always say, man, you guys put on your seatbelts because we're not slowing down. There's no breaks. We'll be right back on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and iTunes. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Rockefeller's Barbershop. This is the day that the Lord has made, and I will be blessed and be glad in Him. Today I want to introduce myself. My name is Rico Rodriguez at Rockefeller's Barbershop here in San Antonio, Texas, 1733 Babcock Road. My phone number is 210-782-5188. And again, we do walk-ins on Sundays. You are listening to I Am Refocused podcast on iHeartRadio. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.
Does your website need more traffic? Well, visit overflowcafe.com today. They make websites popular, and over 41,000 people use their service to gain more customers. They are winning our business. What about you? Visit overflowcafe.com today.
Hey, you guys, we are back. This is I Am Refocused podcast. We are here talking to Pamela Allen, and she's telling us all about her nonprofit organization that helps special needs children. I like what you said during the break about making a bridge, and I think that's very important for not just special needs, but just in humanity, period.
Yes, absolutely.
Because lack of communication makes people assume things.
Exactly.
So let's touch on the time when you made the choice to start this organization, and take us through the process, the early process of how you were able to get the word out to the public.
Well, when I came back and started the special needs ministry, I knew there was a lot more to it, and I knew that I wanted to pursue what God had placed on my heart. And then I heard this pastor speaking, and it was Pastor Barnett, and he was talking about the eagle's flight. And the eagle's flight, how they are very different from all of the other birds. First of all, when one of them, when the eagles, when some of them become disabled, when they go through the molting process and their wings are so out of shape they're not able to fly, they hide in the cliffs. And the ones with special needs, they call out to the ones who are able to fly. And when they call out for help, the other ones go quickly into action, and they go and they get food, and they get everything that disabled eagle needs, and they feed them, and they take care of them, and they nurture them until those eagles are able to fly on their own. When they do get ready for that, the other eagle will put them on their back and take them as high as they can, and then let them go to see if they could fly. And they will be with them and support them until they're able to fly on their own. And there was another thing that he said about eagles, that when a storm approaches, all the other birds will fly off, except for the eagle. The eagle will use the turbulence from that storm to lift them to higher heights. And the whole time I'm listening to that, I was just in tears, because God's saying, that's who I called you to be. And that's where you need to go. And so Eagle's Flight was born. The name, everything, from that day on, it was just, okay, God, I'm ready. And so we started that, and we started reaching out even more. I learned everything that I could about advocacy, special education law, started giving my services out to other families and helping them in the school district. And then that started growing. I've always done outreach, even in Europe. The people from Bosnia and Sarajevo were escaping their country, and I was helping them and bringing them food and getting the military's backing to go with the military to take that help. The gypsies were there, the special needs children in the mental hospital. All of those things were just an amazing outreach, and I became director of outreach for the Church of God while I was there. And so I've always done that. So we created more of an outreach by doing our seasonal giving, doing our summer programs when the children are at home and food gets scarce. And so we started doing that. Then we opened up our ranch. And in that ranch, we have animals. We have horses. We have goats, chickens, ducks. We have all of these animals. And the reason why we did that is because we saw our son want to communicate with these animals. And so it started just really triggering him wanting to speak, especially the horses. Now we know so much about equine therapy. Now there's a name to it. I was doing it even before there was a name to it. And we knew there was something to that. So we have a ranch that we do now. And then something amazing happened in 2013. You know, I had a niece that passed away. Her name was Danielle. And they told her mother in the womb, she's not going to live, you need to have an abortion. And my niece said, God's going to decide that. I'm not going to make that choice. And she knew that Danielle would have special needs. And so we were told that Danielle would not live very long, that she was going to probably die in the womb, but she didn't. She got to live outside of the womb for a few hours. And when she passed away, she was in the arms of her mother and father and grandparents, aunts and uncles, extended family, and we all got to kiss her and love her. And it was just the most amazing thing that I'd ever seen. If a child has to leave, it should be done in perfect love. And that's exactly how she left, in perfect love. And it was the most profound thing I've ever witnessed. 6 weeks after that, here we are watching the news, my husband and I sitting down on the couch watching the news, and we saw that a baby was found at a waste management facility. And I could not take that. After witnessing such profound love, and to hear that a baby was found discarded at a waste management facility, I couldn't. And so immediately I started calling local officials. I started calling everybody. I'm going to bury this baby. I'm going to bury this baby. And I'm looking at my husband and we've got to do something. We're going to bury this baby. I had no idea what that meant. No idea whatsoever. But we pursued it. I could not let this happen. It was such a journey just to do that. I actually had to go to the jail and meet with the mom who murdered her newborn to get her permission to bury the baby that she murdered. I mean, trial and everything. I'm not going to say allegedly because she was already tried. And I did. I got her permission. And she thanked me for wanting to bury her baby. And I asked her, what did you name him? I started calling him Noel. And I said, what did you name him? And she said, I didn't name him, but that's a good name that you picked for him. You know, and I really had to let her know there's something else too. She signed the papers. We did everything that was needed to be done. And I put the papers away and I just looked at her and I said, I don't understand. I have no idea what has happened. But there's two things that I know for sure. Number one is that God loves you so much. She couldn't even look at me after that. She was so surprised she gasped, because who would say that to someone who murdered an innocent newborn? Who would absolutely say that? She looked down and just started peeling the paint. And I remember each action. She had her thumb and she just started peeling the paint from the table that we were at. And I said, the second thing is, I said, I'm going to pray for you. And those two things were absolute. But what an amazing journey. My husband and I had to fight legally to get custody of that child, a child who was no longer living, to be able to bury that child. And so it was then, too, that we knew that we had to be more vocal about the baby Moses law. Because how could you do this when there's a law that would have protected you and protected your baby, and none of this would have had to happen? And since then, 15 months later, we buried Baby Christian. And Baby Christian carries our last name. His headstone says Christian Allen, because as the medical people said, he doesn't belong to anybody. And I remember my husband saying he belongs to us. And so we buried him as well. We've buried 3 abandoned children. We've buried numerous children who've been victims of child abuse. And we started that journey, and we call this journey Danielle's Legacy of Love, because we know that little girl was put into our lives for a reason, and her life mattered. Noelle's life, we distribute hundreds and hundreds of brochures so that what happened to Noelle will not happen to anybody else. And so we continue to do that. And now we're taking further steps in trying to get San Antonio to implement safe haven baby boxes.
Tell us about these boxes.
There was a doctor in South Korea. I remember seeing that movie where boxes were put at a clinic, and women, hundreds, were putting their babies into these boxes, and he was taking them in and nurturing these children in an orphanage. And we have a lady in Indiana that started doing this. She was abandoned herself in 1973, and she had baby boxes made and installed them. And they're listening to that story, I knew, well, listen, one of the things that really intimidates young women is having to have any interaction with someone with a badge. And so the Baby Moses Law is this. 60 days in the state of Texas, Baby Moses Law is this. 60 days. You have 60 days. And if you feel like you cannot raise your baby, you have the opportunity to go and take that child to a fire department, police department, a clinic, any place that has the logo, a safe haven logo. And when you take that child, what the law asks you to do is to take your child and surrender it to an employee of that facility. That law is an amazing law. The only thing is, a lot of women who are in distress, who want to keep a secret, who are intimidated by the badge, are not able to do that. And so we want to take that fear and intimidation away by installing baby boxes in fire stations and in clinics. So we've already gone to Governor Abbott's office and talked to one of his policymakers and let her know, hey, we want to change this one sentence, this current standing law. We completely support, completely stand by it. But how about we change the sentence and just amend it to say that, yes, you surrender your baby to an employee, or if there's a baby box available, you can put that baby into a baby box, which, by the way, climate controlled, steel, that when the door closes, it has a silent alarm. Within 3 minutes, that child will be able to be tended to by medical personnel. We had in San Antonio in January of 2017, and you might have heard of this, the baby was found in a field by other children who were walking to school. That was right off of O'Connor Road. And they found this newborn with the umbilical cord still wrapped around. In January, I know we're in San Antonio, but we're still kind of cold. They got that baby, took the baby to their mother, and they were able to find help. But that's an abandonment charge. If you were to take your baby to a fire station or any facility that has a safe haven logo, you won't be charged. And we're trying to tell young ladies, you can do this without having any charges against you. Make that choice. So now the baby box is going to be able to give them an opportunity to say, I can't do this, I can't speak to someone, but what I can do is make sure that my child's going to be safe. And that's the best choice, because then charges will not be brought against you. We are so ready to start the baby boxes. And so we're hoping that San Antonio will be the first city in the state of Texas to get this done. Looking at our statistics, we need this. We need it.
So your organization is not just helping special needs, but if a baby sadly is abandoned, you're still there.
Absolutely.
To help that baby have a chance.
Yes.
You can't speak for itself, but
yes,
you give that opportunity for that baby to have a future. So just want to say, on behalf of Refocus Podcast, man, like, thanks for doing that, because I know it has to be difficult. What is it that keeps you driven and motivated to continue this journey because it's not an easy task?
No, it's not. You know, having to fight to get possession of a baby who has passed away. I say that to myself, and I'm like, oh my gosh. But I believe that when God puts it in your heart, He's going to equip you. It's not easy. I'm going to tell you, when we had to pick out a headstone for Christian, we completely lost it because this child's destiny was cut short. This life had a destiny. And so we want to make sure that those babies, that they will continue with their destiny. And so I think that's what drives me. There's another thing too. I go to church with a little girl who's a baby Moses baby. Oh my gosh. I'm going to tell you, if I ever thought that I wasn't going to be able to take another step, this little girl, she comes, she hugs my leg, and I get so energized. I get so filled with the fact that I see this little girl living out her purpose and destiny that I want to make sure other babies can. I mean, that's important, and that means something to me. Just like if it was a special needs child, they have a purpose and destiny. I'm living out mine right now, and I know that this is my purpose and destiny, and so I'm very honored that He called me to do this. But I'm going to tell you, no, it's not easy, and there's some times that we get frustrated, and there's some times you're like, oh my gosh. I mean, there's many cases that haven't made media, and I get those phone calls about infants who have been found, and recently we had one in this past summer that was found in a house where a drug raid was taking place. And it's been amazing that city officials and our law enforcement will call me directly. Pam, we're going to need you. And I don't take that lightly. That's an honor for me that these men know that they can come, and they know where their ally is, and they know that it's God-driven, and they know that I'm going to do whatever I can for that child to give honor and respect. And so they trust me, and I don't take that lightly.
And say there's parents right now or someone who knows somebody who definitely will need your service for your organization. What's that first step that they need to take after they have contacted you?
Well, after they do connect with me, we want to make sure that if they're feeling like they have to take their baby to a safe site, we want to talk to them. We want to let them know that we'll go with them. We will help them through. It's a very tough decision that a woman has to make. We actually hope women will make the choice of adoption. We think that adoption is very important. I support adoption agencies, and I think that their job is phenomenal, and that's the safest choice. Adoption is the safest choice. But if a woman is in a place that she can't make that adoption decision, if it's between a trash can and a safe baby site or a safe baby box, choose that box. Choose life. Not only that for that baby, but for yourself. Because there are women in jail today that made that choice of deadly abandonment, and they've been charged, and now their life is over too. They don't just end one life. They end two. They end their own. And so this is the safest choice. We talk to young people all the time because this law was passed in 1999. Probably before they were born. And so we want them to make a choice, and we make sure that they understand about the baby Moses law, saving their life and saving the child's life, and that's what's important. These moms have a destiny as well. Both of these lives have purpose, and so we want to make sure that it's fulfilled.
And also to the parents or parent with a special needs child, what can they expect to experience when they connect with you in your organization? The process.
We have resources. We don't walk this journey alone. We link arms with other organizations, and I always tell them we're stronger together, and we can't do this without one another. So we get them to resources. We get them to case managers. We help them find a church that's going to support them, because I do believe that if you walk this journey, having your faith next to you to build you, that's going to be important. And so we make sure that they get connected, because one of the worst thing that you can do is isolate yourself. And so we make sure that they connected with other families, with counselors, with case managers, that they get equipped to walk this road, and that they don't walk it alone, and that they have an army with them. And that's a great thing to be able to give that to a parent.
It's crazy if you look back to the podcast early in the first half of the show, how you brought us through the whole journey of processing of you becoming where you are today.
Yeah.
You're a founder of an organization that's not just changing lives, but actually saving lives. What has any of this surprised you in a positive way, or was this something that just clicked a certain time ago that this is what it's all going to turn out to be?
Well, I didn't, being a special education advocate, we never saw the journey of burying infants. That's a very painful thing. I can tell you, not just for me, for my husband, for my family. It's a very painful thing. We never thought that we would be doing that. But what happened with Danielle was what put that in my heart. And you can't let something like that ever escape from you. When you have those God moments, when God is speaking to your heart, there's nowhere you can run, nowhere you can hide where God's love and God's anointing isn't going to be on you to say, sweetie, I'm calling on you to do this. It's not easy, but I'm going to be right here with you. I'll never leave you, but I need you to do this. And so I'm glad that we're able to do that. It was that thing that, oh my gosh, what did I just do? I mean, I know my husband was like, we're gonna what? But he's been so supportive and such a strength to me as we've moved down this road, and as we bury babies who've been abused. I'm going to tell you, that's been really harsh, because I stood next to a grandma whose 4-month-old grandson had been so beaten by his father, and they were keeping him alive on machines because they did not want him to die with organs that could be used to save other children, other infants, which I thought was such a brave decision to make. And so I'm standing there next to her, and she's stroking the head of her grandchild, and I'm like, I was so angry. Oh my gosh, I'm so angry at the person who did this. I'm so angry. But she had so much peace because she knew her baby's in the arms of our Savior. And yet I was still so angry, and she's stroking the head of the child. I'm like, excuse me, because I had to leave, because she had so much acceptance, so much love, and so much compassion, and there I was so angry. What just happened? And so I remember going downstairs, just trying to walk that anger out, and being surrounded by some reporters and asking, well, how do you feel about this? And I'm like, I can't even express my feelings because I'm so angry. But I know that God takes you through these journeys because that was her blood. That was her baby. And here I was being angry. I had no right to be angry when this woman was at peace. And so God takes you through these little life lessons. My hand is still on this family, and I still sit on the throne, and I've called you to do these things, and you have to do them. And I need you to do them. And I was very humbled that day by the love that grandma was able to show, and the compassion that she was able to give, because her heart was right. And I had to go and work on my heart to be able to continue to walk this, because I've sat with many families that have had a child taken from them so viciously. But I'm going to continue to do that and stand with these families and stand with these infants and make sure that love and honor and respect are given. Like I said, not always easy, and I fail. I fall short, but I know that God's grace gets us through.
It's very well said, and too, said many times on the show, but a lot of times our own pain is somebody else's medicine. So what you're going through is prepping you for the call that's coming your way, and it's up to you to answer the call. And look what you've done. I mean, you're still doing it too. Yeah. And speaking of that, perfect segue. I heard you have an event coming soon. Yes. Tell us a little bit about this event and how people can attend it.
We're so excited. We have 2 fundraisers that we do a year. And the one in October is always just very special to us. We have Cleto Rodriguez, who supports us, doing a function for us called Hilarity Helps. And even in the midst of this struggle, I do believe Laughter is a great medicine, and the joy of the Lord is our strength. And we have to take a minute to sit and laugh and gain our strength. Nico LaHood and his wife Davida are going to be with us. They're going to be doing a comedy challenge. We've got a lot of comics coming out. We've got people from our community who are doing the comedy challenge and going to make the audience laugh. We have Cleto coming in and doing a performance for us. And we're gathering all of these funds to help during our season of giving. And our season of giving is when we prepare a Thanksgiving dinner. So we have turkey, we have all of the sides, we have desserts, we have drinks, and we have it in a basket. And we deliver it to special needs families, because when you raise a special needs child, your finances get so attacked as well. And so we get into the city and we work with the ARC, with Any Baby Can, with the Autism Treatment Center, and with other agencies who give us referrals. And so we're not only doing that, but we're attacking the poverty issue in our city as well. And we're going to be preparing baskets for some of the families who are not going to be able to celebrate Thanksgiving unless we come in and help them. And so we'll be getting these baskets together. And when we go into these homes, we take inventory of the children who are there, of the families who might need some assistance during Christmas. And we come right back around during Christmas and we bless them with Christmas gifts. And so Hilarity Helps is going to help us gather the funds to be able to do that.
And this is Friday in San Antonio.
Yes, it's Friday at the Magic Theater at 7 p.m. Tickets are still available at the door. Come and join us. Rita's on the River is catering, and they blessed us with that. And so we have a lot of organizations and agencies who've come in and sponsored us, who've supported us. We have a silent auction going on. We just have a lot of good things happening that evening, but mostly we have laughter. And so if anybody would like to join us, we invite you to come and join Hilarity Helps, 7 p.m. at the Magic Theater, and it's going to be a fun time.
And also individuals or businesses who want to help support your organization, where can they find you online, and how can they just help you out?
For anybody who wants to get involved with us and who wants to help with our season of giving, they can visit our website at www.eaglesflightsa.com, and then we have a donate button there. We are so grateful for the organizations and businesses and even community members who joined on board wanting to help us, and we're very grateful for them because we can't do it without their support.
Well, there y'all have it, man. This was an awesome show, like always, man. I want to say thank you to Rico Rodriguez at Rockefeller's Barbershop. Let us come through every single Thursday. We have been talking to Pamela Allen, and I just want to say thanks so much for taking time out of your schedule to come educate the community of San Antonio and abroad, because we're not just in the city, we're outside the state and country. So hopefully everyone out there, you learned a lot, and make sure you go visit her website and make sure you go support these nonprofits, not just in San Antonio, but in your community. So if you're outside of Texas, Michigan, Florida, California, Ohio, support your community, especially these nonprofits who are the muscle, I'm going to call it the muscle of these cities, because without their hard work, no one's going to step up. So thank you for stepping up. Like we always say on every show, before we end, keep God first, stay focused, and peace.